No one is difficult to buy for, and if they have a hobby, you're halfway there. Anyone who has a hobby is always learning, is always getting new tools and things they need, and for us in the sewing room is the same. So anything you get them is going to make them really happy. So here there are a few things, I don't know how many right now, to give to a sewer. I'm going to talk about things I enjoy and I love having, but if there's something I haven't said, please leave it in the comments so everyone can see it. And if you're not, consider subscribing, because I upload twice a week and it's not all about talking, I also sew as well. So consider subscribing, and I leave you my Instagram account as well in case you want to have a look at even recipes. Although this might not look like a proper gift, it really is, and it's an assortment of different good quality needles. Not long ago I realized about the difference of using a normal needle, I have a tertiary one, and using a proper brand needle, and it is amazing. I didn't have any problem sewing at all, it was sewing butter. So I'm in need of some more, so I'll be going and getting a few. And a good assortment of different sizes to work with different fabrics is such a good idea. And as well as the needles, an assortment of different color polyester threads is a dream. I have lots of cotton ones, and I always get the polyester ones depending on the project I'm going to sew. I just get a bobbin, a thread of the color I need. But there are some beautiful boxes, brand ones, really good quality ones that are really nice, and any person who sews will appreciate it. A good pair of scissors. When you start sewing, you just collect things you have around the house, and maybe you're cutting with not proper scissors, not sewing or not fabric scissors, and a good pair is always a good idea. And not only normal ones, maybe you can get someone pinking shears if they don't have any, or the little embroidery ones for threads, or the ones that are like snippets, and they are really good for threads as well. I haven't got those, I want to get them, so let's see. You know the ones, they are like pliers. French curves, they are ideal for anyone who's learning to trace their own patterns. Maybe you don't want to depend on pattern magazines because maybe you have some features that they don't. So this is ideal to trace your armholes, neckline, trousers, anything. You can trace anything with them. They are not as expensive. They are, all tools are an investment. They are not a waste of money. This one cost me 31 euros 40 cents. So it's an investment, but it's not as much, and anyone who's learning to sew and trace patterns will appreciate them. A presser foot box is ideal for anyone who's sewing. Of course, they help you to work with different materials, with different fabrics, maybe to add a bit of cord, or maybe to make pleats, or to sew zippers properly. And there's a few I've been using almost on an everyday basis, but there's others I just found out what they're for. So now I have to find projects to do with them, but it's ideal for anyone who's learning to sew or who's sewing. So get this. And if you know that person is not that much into tracing their own patterns, but you can see magazines all around the house, you should get a year subscription to any of these. They're really good because they give you lots of ideas, although they are sometimes difficult to follow, but they are nice. I always look at them when I see them on the kiosk, and sometimes from time to time I get one, then I get cross with them as well, but I always end up getting one like twice a year, so it's a good idea to get it for someone who loves them. It doesn't matter if you like reading a lot or not, but a sewing book, it's always a good option. Books about patterns, about different techniques, it's always ideal to have. There are different ones with projects you can do, and I love having books by hand when I want to look up information. There's a lot of information nowadays on the internet, but sometimes it's even overwhelming, and sometimes people have different opinions on the same topic, so you don't know what to do. So I always relate on books to do my research, so get one. And another kind of books you can get is books for inspiration. Not as much techniques or how to do something, but just books to relax and enjoy while reading. For example, if someone likes sewing garments, you can get different brands books, for example, the Dior book, or 100 iconic books through history, or a fashion book. They are books, they are really easy to read. You can read them from time to time. You don't have to read them all at once, it's not like a novel, but you can read different chapters and they are really nice as well. So get a few. Anything, absolutely anything with the sewing topic on it. It could be a keyring, a cup with the sewing machine on. It could be a box with different motifs, or for example a picture frame. Anything that has something related to sewing, we're going to enjoy. It's going to make us smile, and it means that you know that someone likes that topic and that hobby. So that is always a good idea to get. Anyone who sews is always drawn into all the older machines, all the vintage ones, and anything that has to do with sewing. For example, I have my grandma's thing to hold the iron from ages ago, and that little machine I found in the rubbish. So if you happen to go to a market and see something related to sewing, consider getting it, because that person will appreciate it, I'm sure. An assortment of different fabrics. It might be weird and maybe it's a bit overwhelming, because if you don't know what kind of fabric someone likes, maybe you feel a bit scared of just choosing 2 meters of this material and 2 meters of that fabric. But maybe you can get a gift card. I was looking for that word. Maybe you can get a gift card and someone can choose their fabrics online, or even in your local store they have something similar, so just consider that. And with a bit more of a budget, we can think of getting a sewing machine. If someone is starting to sew, the normal thing to get is a cheap machine. I sew with my Singer, it was only 90 something euros ages ago, and it sews perfectly fine. You can see how many things I've sewn during these years, and it works fine, more or less. There's sometimes things that are a bit more difficult for it, but the rest is fine. And if someone already has a sewing machine, maybe you want to upgrade that sewing machine and get a more expensive one, or maybe you want to consider getting a serger. They are really good to have. I used to have one, but mine died and it broke down, so it just broke. So it's really good for stretchy materials and for your seams to look perfectly cute, so it's good to consider as well. And last but not least, you can always consider getting a Marie Antoinette for yourself. These adjustable mannequins are really good for anyone who's starting sewing, or for anyone who sews in general, because it adjusts to your measurements. You just throw your fabric on top and start making pleats and cuts, and everything comes out perfect. I used it a lot. I even made my wedding dress using her, and it was perfectly fine. So I have to work more with her. Then I started using patterns and tracing patterns, but it's ideal to work with. So As I said, no one is difficult to get presents for, you just have to think a little bit, and if that person has a hobby, you just have almost all your job done. You just have to get one of the million things related to that hobby and you'll be fine. I've talked about things I have, things I use and I love, but if you have something that you think it's a really good idea, leave it down in the comments because it's always useful for anyone who's watching the video. And if you like this kind of content and sewing in general, because I don't only talk, I sew as well, consider subscribing, and that way you don't miss anything. And I leave you here my Instagram account in case you want to have a look at my everyday life, projects and even recipes. Bye!